Okay, so we are now live, and I thought I had a bunch of people message me because of what happened earlier yesterday, in fact, where after a shooting that happened in Pittsburgh of an alt-right guy going into a synagogue and shooting a bunch of people, then cops responding to the mass shooting and then getting shot themselves, and then him being taken into custody. Gab went on full, what would be the way to describe it? PR mode would be the nice way to put it. There's another way that I could put it. I guess you could say damage control, because this guy was a Gab user, the guy that did the shooting. And there's a bunch of allegations that I'm not going to get into of whether he actually told people or not, because I've seen that alleged. I've been seeing that floating around, that apparently before he went on the shooting, he told a bunch of people. Considering the position that Gab is now in, I'm not going to comment on that, because now they're having to deal with the FBI and the federal government to turn over whatever information they can about the shooter. But the thing is that I know that Styx Hexenhammer did a video on it, in which he blamed the censorship on Twitter and other social media for, in part, this, because it resulted in this guy joining the echo chamber that is Gab, and that is true. I do credit the existing social media companies for continuously banning people whose opinions they disagree with, who typically lean right, but also include a multitude of people that are not just stock conservatives, but are also instead legit bigots. And in this case, the shooter was a legit bigot, so much so that he violently reacted. So in this case, I wanted to talk about a few things, and I've had a bunch of people message me wanting me to talk about this because of the fact that they actually thought it was closer, and so did I until I looked it up. But the original Lowly controversy on Gab was actually the 16th. That's when this kicked off, was the 16th of October. And it's been a week, over a week, I should say, since that happened. But people nonetheless wanted me to talk about it because one of the things that was credited for Gab being taken down was Lowly. And the issue is that as someone who's been on Twitter, I know that to not be the case. You can post Lowly on Twitter and to some extent YouTube, and also less so on Facebook now. But there is no zero tolerance policy on any of those platforms, unlike Gab, which from the get-go implied that it was going to be a zero tolerance policy, and did so fairly flippantly. And one of the issues was that this enraged people because, one, like I said in the video, they are lowly aficionados or weebs, but also that it was a nakedly hypocritical position to take on art that just offered stock conservative excuses for why censorship is now acceptable. Censorship of bigoted expression is wholly wrong, and you're essentially a Nazi if you disagree. But the second it gets to pornography, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we can ban that. We don't have to even regulate it. Let's just ban it. Why? Obscenity. It's that kind of naked hypocrisy that a lot of people don't like. And I see a lot of people reacting fairly strongly to what's happening to Gab. So I thought I would address that because people basically want me to, roast Andrew and make fun of the fact that they're now being attacked. And so I'm going to start by saying that I don't agree that Gab should be attacked based on nothing, simply because this random shooter had an account on Gab. It makes no sense. It would be like Elliot Rodger being on YouTube and now YouTube is being attacked, or the black guy that shot, actually, well, that case, it wasn't a hate crime, but a guy that was broadcasting him shooting another black guy in the name of, revenge against his girlfriend or whatever. I saw that video. That was pretty brutal. But even still, I don't want Facebook censor just because some guy Facebook lived him murdering another guy. Especially in that case, it was very graphic and very sad. But it's that kind of association that is ridiculous, and anyone who is thinking reasonably, who's not overwhelmed by emotion, can imagine why that kind of implication of association makes no sense whatsoever. Just because something is broadcast or posted on a social media platform doesn't mean that the person running the company somehow has to agree with what happened. And they also cannot be responsible for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours that are being broadcast and uploaded to their platform at any given minute of the day. It's just not feasible for them to be able to monitor all of it. Should there be a flagging system for the community to flag down, some guy murdering somebody and broadcasting it? Yes. I don't think it's a very good idea to have somebody broadcasting crimes, especially if they're active crimes. But it begs the question. So here's the philosophical question that I pose to you about, let's say, ISIS cutting off somebody's head, that black guy who shot an old black guy in the head and live broadcasted it, violence, rape, everything. Okay, here's the question. Does that mean that we now have to censor the Zapruder film of JFK getting his head shot off? Does that now mean we have to censor the examples of the kids running away in Vietnam that were naked? Does that mean that we now have to censor, somebody getting shot or somebody getting, put into a mass grave in Vietnam or in China or in Cuba? Do we now have to censor that? Do we now have to censor war footage? Where does this stop? These issues are bringing up questions that I think people are not ready to, they're not prepared to argue these things. And I think that is true of our side, of the woke centrists. We are not prepared to argue these things. People like Dank and even people like Sargon are setting themselves up to be in a position where they are going to be making the same arguments that Anita Sarkeesian made about video games. I've seen people talking about that, and it is very much true. They aren't necessarily at that point yet. They haven't made that whole argument. Dank is the closest, because he's one step shy from saying that all lolicon, because we can't actually regulate it, because what decides, who defines what image is what age and what have you? What is sexualization? Define it. Define the standard. You can't. It's just going to be a whole ban. They are setting themselves up not only to back something that is totalitarian in terms of policy and draconian for that measure, but also that because they think lolicon has some effect on people, therefore, what's the difference between you and Anita? That's the entire thrust of her argument. Video games cause sexism. Violent video games cause violence. What is then the distinct difference between you and Anita based on that same standard of banning something, of censoring something, of regulating something that we would otherwise call speech or art? This, to me, lolicon is one of, if not the Achilles heel of our whole side. Because I'm apparently one of the very few people that's willing to publicly reiterate that I support this existing and I do not abide by any censorship of it. I don't care how bad it is, how little consent there is in a fictional drawing and how young the non-existent person is. This is something that these people who I've mentioned, who I like Dankula, I like Sargon. I've met at least one of them. I consider myself to be good friends with at least one of them. Dankula, as far as I know, doesn't know who the fuck I am. But they are setting themselves up to be in a position, philosophically, where they are then immediately following that, they then have no argument for why war footage shouldn't be censored. For why the image out of Vietnam of the naked kids running, why that shouldn't be censored. Why then a guy shouldn't be arrested and jailed because he took a nude photo of his kid in like the bathtub or at the beach. Why that guy shouldn't be arrested. It's always better to err on the side of freedom and liberty than it is on draconian policy for moralizing. And I think the problem that Dankula and especially Andrew Torba has is that they are morally grandstanding. Sargon is not. And I think that people unfortunately have this idea that he's the guy that I need to debate on this because he's the biggest. I think the guy I need to debate on this is fucking Dankula, who's unfortunately on vacation right now. So he cannot be reached. Dank is the guy. Because as I posted earlier, that video of him debating Amos Yee, the guy is not prepared for then having a follow-up argument about something other than lowly. Anything that relates to art, if it can be something that is philosophically or morally attached to the argument of Lolicon and what should be banned or what should be illegal, then you've just created a noose for your own neck. And he does not seem to understand that. And it's unfortunate because let's see here. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to show some things related to Andrew Torba and just give you the reason why that this is an issue for him. Because Sargon put up a video today, I believe it was, after he did a stream talking about, or a conversation or something, talking about the issue of Gab. And the problem that they have is Andrew. Like, if you took Gab by itself and you took Andrew out of the equation, this wouldn't be such a big problem for a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of people saying that the angry weebs should no longer be angry and they should support Gab and that we should all be supporting Gab. But the problem is Andrew. Andrew is the fucking problem. Like, I'm well aware that there's plenty of people working at Gab. And as I said, there's plenty of people there that by all appearances seem completely normal, and I don't want them out of a job. The only person that's a problem here is Andrew. And if you ask me what I think Andrew should do, he should step down as CEO. He should become head of investment, something that he's good at in terms of his capacity. But he's a terrible CEO. He's a terrible leader. He's not a leader. And he's incapable of being professional outside of emergency moments like now, where his entire platform is now offline. Now is when he's actually professional. But when it is an emergency crunch time, he's just a fucking asshole to everyone. And he's constantly alienating people. And I didn't mention it because I didn't want to talk about this guy because we no longer have a good relationship. But a long time ago, this is probably like over a year ago, Andrew, for whatever reason, one day, got into an argument with Jeff Holiday. Jeff Holiday was concerned about something mundane, if I remember correctly. And he interacted with Andrew, and he wanted clarification on it. And, unlike most CEOs that wouldn't give Jeff the time of day, Andrew, engaged with Jeff. So Jeff asked a question, and Andrew pretty much just acted like an asshole, like he always does. Anyone who disagrees with him, anyone who's left-wing, anyone who has a concern, anyone that doesn't fall in line, he just flips out at. And so Andrew acted like an asshole to Jeff. And Jeff said, okay, then if this is the way you're going to act, then fine, I'm not going to use Gab. Fuck you. And Andrew went, well, I don't care, bro. Freedom of association, fuck off. And that's the issue. That's the problem Gab has. He's just a terrible public face of the company. Like, when he goes on Alex Jones and he talks about free speech, that's fine. But the issue is we all know that to be a front. We all know that that's a front. It's free speech for hate speech, in effect. But anything else is not covered. He has a position on that it becomes an issue. Hold on, I got a super chat that I have to focus on. So I have two super chats. No, Louis, you don't understand. Lily Fens being war footage doesn't. Rogue Crusader says the argument people would make to ban child porn and not war footage is that child porn fuels an industry, an illegal industry, while war footage does not. That's not true. I mean, it's only illegal because you say it is, and the only illegal would be the lolicon, because with child porn, it's defined differently in the law, at least in the United States. It is because there is a victim. That is the reason why it's illegal. That is the reason why it's not covered by the First Amendment, is that there's a victim. It is the Ferber standard. But the issue is, and I've already said, the Ferber standard, if it could be reversed, you get a bad enough case that calls that into question because it's not enforced properly, then that, boom, it goes away. Because if there's not equal enforcement, then it's not an actual regulation. So even that is a bad argument. And the issue of child porn is also subjective. There's no discernible standard outside of the, like, it then turns to, okay, we have a picture here that we don't know whether it's child porn or not. Miller standard. Does the normal person look at this fucking photo and think that this is child porn or isn't? And it's basically up to them. What does the normal person think? And that's whether, and that basically, that decides whether we prosecute this or not. So the issue of child porn itself, like actual child porn, that is actually a gray area, because it's something that is banned for a very specific reason, in which there is a very clear exception to the First Amendment for the express. It is in effect a compromise. But the issue is that it's not strong. It's not a strong exception. And if these people don't watch themselves, that is something that they could see be overturned based on their own flippant behavior in this manner, because they don't actually understand that there's a separation between the product of a crime and the crime. So you shooting someone in the head is a crime. You photographing someone shooting them in the head, is that a crime? Well, it depends. It depends who took the photo. It depends for what reason. It depends what they do with it. If it's a journalist that does it, boom, covered. No question, covered. Boom, print it anywhere you want to. Put it on television, put it in the newspaper, put it online, no question. But you put it in a different context where an ISIS person shoots someone in the head, banned everywhere, censored everywhere. There's no standardization for that. It's just compromise. And the problem is, it's just a compromise we want to ignore for the sake of direct expedience. Child porn is no different in that effect, where it's something that is the government even struggles to regulate, because it's, how do you know? How do you know that that's what it is? How do you know? How do you know the age of the person in the photo? It requires investigation every single time. And what that requires is an investigator to pursue it. You know, this is not something that can be easily enforced. It's a Sisyphean task that we're accepting for the purposes of not wanting to accept the victimization of children. And I can wholly accept that for what it is. Because we are rightly afraid that children are going to be exploited in this way. But the issue is, again, like I said, it is a Sisyphean task. It's not the same as going after the perpetrator that did something against the child. That's a lot easier than it is to go against someone distributing the material created during that crime. Lolies can't consent, checkmate Buddhists. Okay, thanks, Willow. Since T. Blair, the UK has had draconian porn laws. There's a bunch of different countries with draconian porn laws, but I'll have to look up that reference. But anyways, let me get to Gab and Andrew. So yeah, that's I'll just reiterate for the sake of clarity that the issue with art is multiple. The regulation of art has moral implications, of which I am against. I find the censorship of art to be immoral. That is my position. It's not just a concept of principle in terms of personal ethics and what the law should reflect in that and around that principle and personal ethics in maximizing individual liberty, but also that I consider it to be a moral failure of humanity that we censor art. But that being my own personal take, the other issue to it is the Sisyphean nature of regulation of art. How do you do it? How do you standardize it? How do you actually make it an effective law? And every law that I know of as it relates to the regulation of art, what is ostensibly art, and that includes bad art, violence, and rape and the rest, whether it involves children or not, snuff films, for example, the regulation of that is Sisyphean. It is nothing but a constant uphill battle against the distribution of something that is now digital. It's not like it used to be on fucking tapes. It is now digital. And back then we weren't able to we weren't even able to put a dent in it before the internet. How the fuck are you going to do it now? The cat is out of the bag and there's no way to mitigate this. It's just going to be you hiring more and more and more investigators to close a loophole that you'll never be able to stop. There's no way you're going to stop this. So I don't see this as worthwhile. I think that this is just a matter of people reacting to something in an emotional manner and wanting it to stop, like wanting pedophiles to stop. And I agree. I don't like pedophiles. I'm not accepting of people that are attracted to minors. I am not attracted to minors. And there's a reason why it's outlawed. The reason is despite the fact we can't agree upon age of consent, and that is another factor here, it's that we don't want old predators taking advantage of underdeveloped minds of children. You know, if you can't drive a car and you can't, vote and the rest of it, can't drive a car, can't sign a contract, etc., can't join the military, there's a reason why we also have it illegal that adults cannot engage in sex with minors, because there is a question of consent. There is. But the issue is we haven't decided, and I don't think we will ever decide what the actual age of consent should be. Because I don't know if there is anything scientific or observable that we'll ever be able to discover to say what the actual age of consent should be. It's very much a delicate, taboo, and complicated subject. And I think anyone that's going to address it should be open-minded about that it is complicated. But the issue is that has absolutely nothing to do with drawings. Will says, if somebody thinks it should be illegal, why shouldn't they think rape fantasy porn should be bondage? Really, any porn that shows an illegal fantasy? Yeah, I mean, that is true. Anything that's kink ultimately does involve like negotiation of consent, especially in that like S&M arena. All of that is about trying to maintain an illusion, but also maintain the real of consent. Because if somebody who's engaging in sex, if there's ever an issue of the consent eventually stops, where one of the parties says, okay, I want to stop, and the other party says no. And I don't mean like the sort of bullshit context of like, well, I felt uncomfortable at some point, even though we both climaxed, smiled, and went home, and I texted him like, yeah, I'm going to fuck you tomorrow. Like, not that, but I said stop, and then he or she forced me down and, raped me, and I tried to resist, and I was beaten. Obviously, there's a situation where that person could then go to another person, go to the police, go into another party and say, I was raped. And everyone involved would take that seriously, especially if there was physical force involved. Everyone's going to take that seriously. And it is because that even when you're engaging in sexual intercourse, you can withdraw consent, but you have to do so in a manner that is not just verbal, but also physical. If somebody's on you, you have to push them. And if they refuse, there you go. That's consent is now out the window. And with that kind of rape fantasy pornography, again, it's about maintaining consent and the illusion of the lack thereof. It's role playing. Lou, you should talk with V about this. My mic went potato. Otherwise, I would have talked to him about this very subject. I don't know if I feel like doing that. I already got enough people saying I should talk to other people. And somebody else can talk to V, because he hasn't really shown any interest in my regard for wanting to talk to me. So I don't really, feel as though it's necessary. Debate with you and Styx. I haven't seen Styx say one word about this, so I don't really think that's something that's on the table. Somebody would have to message him and say, like, oh, you should debate this guy in Loli out of the blue. All right, anyways, let me fucking share my screen and we'll get to this. Where's my fucking share to screen button? I slept, finally, because I didn't get much sleep this week. I slept last night for like freaking 11 hours. I was so tired. So Sargon the other day was chomping at the bit to debate me on the Loli issue, but oh shit, fucking Windows and their bullshit. Stop it, Windows. Okay, so this is where it started. All this started on the 16th, and what we're gonna do in this situation is explain why so many people are reacting so negatively. So there's a lot of people right now that Gab is being taken offline. And again, I'll reiterate that I don't agree with that. It's very obvious what's going on. It's very obvious this cabal effect that's happening. It's very clear that people are going after Gab and just using this shooting as an excuse to take them down. It's not going to somehow stop mass shooters. It's not going to stop, anti-Semites or racists. It's not going to do anything. So I don't support anyone that's trying to take down Gab and using this as an excuse to do so, because that's what I find it to be. I find it to be completely malicious, and I should probably have an article on. I'll look that up. Gab taken offline following Pittsburgh shooter. I think I spelled Pittsburgh really wrong. I did. Pittsburgh. Let's see if they. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's a Verge article. So yeah, after this attack, it was like Stripe, PayPal, and one other provider that does business with them. Basically, their host provider, the people that host their domain and all that. They all went after. It was like very immediate too, very quick, within a day. They shut down. They basically communicated to Andrew that they were no longer doing business with their company effective immediately for violations of their terms of service, which are nothing but bullshit. I mean, I've already talked about this before. The whole terms of service bullshit. What that is a contractual ability for a company to basically absolve themselves of liability. That way they can't be sued. That's what terms of service is. They retain the right to sue you, but for you to not be able to sue them. That's what terms of service is. It's a legal loophole that every corporation engages in at this point. And it's for like moments like this, where internally and externally they have constant pressure to disassociate with Gab and Andrew Torba. And after the shooting, these people can get in front of these people's faces and say to PayPal, and the people within PayPal, their SJWs, can go to their board, go to their management, and say, you need to stop associating with these people now, because that makes you a Nazi too. That makes you an anti-Semite too. And unfortunately for Gab, PayPal, whoever the fuck it was that was their domain registrar, and Stripe, all now have the excuse to disassociate and terminate their relationship with Gab. That is what this is. It's never not been something that I knew was going to happen. And we've all seen this before. Anyone who's followed Gab has seen this happen before over even less. You know, that companies have terminated their relationship. They've had email services. They've had their last several domain host providers and all that cut off or even less. This is nothing new. And so one of the things that was forwarded, and it was forwarded by many people, was that the reason why it was practical for Andrew Torba to ban Lolicon was that it was to prevent something like this from happening. The issue is, we all knew that based on the fact that with Twitter and all their associations, where Lolicon is not banned, we knew that that wasn't going to be a problem. And if it ever was, it was just going to be a lame excuse that they would concoct for the sake of doing what they already wanted to do. It was a bad excuse. And I think that Andrew is smart enough to know that that was a bad excuse, and he was just looking to ban something that he wanted to ban, and that many conservatives, if they had the power, would ban. And many people, in effect, would also ban because they don't like it. And that's it. That's the only reason. That's their only excuse. That's their only reasoning. I don't like this, therefore get rid of it. That's it. And with Andrew, he's no exception. The problem is that, as I believe I've already said, Andrew is a fucking asshole. He flies off the handle. He freaking alienates people left and right. And then, boom, this happens. He has his website attacked. And now it's a matter of, well, let's go to Sargon's video and let's see where it is.
Like they've done with Gab. They will just fucking remove you. So get your hands out of your asses. It's time for everyone to support Andrew Torba 100% with no fucking reservations. Now is not the time to complain that you can't share a particular thing on Gab, because nobody can share shit on Gab now.
So I don't agree. And I'm going to explain my reasoning in that effect. So Andrew is not just an asshole. He is somebody who blocks and bans people that he doesn't agree with. This is something that he's been doing for years in a very hypocritical fashion. And the only reason why he blocks people and bans people is because every other day he flips out, snaps, and starts alienating people. He does this routinely with people that he disagrees with, or that people that have a problem. They'll ask him, they'll inquire, he'll flip out and then block them. He is, as I've said, the worst part of his company. And this is one of my main issues with him. And so the effect is this. He's not going to change. He is not going to change. What needs to happen is for him to step down, take another position within his company, stop being the face of this company, and for someone else to take his place, someone who has, unfortunately, media training, but also doesn't alienate people on a daily basis. That is who needs to take over this company. Because the issue is that the position of Gab should be, I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care if you're left-wing, right-wing. I don't care if you're a weeb. Feel free to join our platform. We're not Twitter. That is your selling point. That's the thing you've been stressing every fucking day. And yet, when someone comes to you and says they have a problem, someone comes to you and someone has a question, someone comes to you and says that, hey, you've enacted a policy that doesn't make any fucking sense, it makes you look like a hypocrite, he flips out, screams about it, blocks them, and I already have the image. Let me find the image. Let me make sure I don't fucking dox myself with this shit. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So, some of you saw this the other day. Oh, come on. Can I need to make this bigger. There we go. So this is the thing that I took issue with Dankula, in that literal child porn is not free speech. Okay, it's not literally child porn there, brother. And him tweeting out an image mocking the idea that, you know, that the issue of moral superiority is coming from our side, from me. That I'm the one that's claiming to be morally superior in this. When no, brother, that's you. That is you claiming to have moral superiority over others that have not committed any crime and that are questioning your principles, because apparently this is your Achilles heel. Gab retweeted this because Gab is literally lighting themselves on fire and then dancing in the moonlight, thinking that everything's okay. This is one of the issues with you alienating people constantly, is now that you're in trouble, I'm not coming to your fucking defense. I am not coming to your defense when you alienate specifically me. When I can't show it to you now because their website is currently all over the place and up and down every other second. But somebody on Gab reached out to Andrew specifically and said, would you be willing to talk to Louis about this? He flat out said no. And that was the end of the fucking conversation. So he knows to some degree what's going on. There's a chance he may have seen my videos. Someone asked him, will you engage with Louis? He said flat out one word, no. So when the question is, am I ready and prepared to run to the rescue of Andrew Torba and his company? No. That is my response. I didn't choose this position that he's in. He did. He could have had everyone running to his rescue and defending himself, and I have defended his company before when this has been done to him. I'm not doing it now. I'm not agreeing with what's being done, but I'm not fucking defending him. I'm not giving him a moment of my time outside of this, and I'm not giving him any fucking money. And there's a lot of people now saying the same. And here you go. Let's look through some of these other tweets. So here's someone calling him out, and he says, if you want to defend cartoons of children being raped as free speech and or posting social security numbers and credit card on the internet without repercussions as free speech, then you can keep your money. Lol. Sorry, not sorry. Again, why should I support this guy? Why should I support him? It's just an older one that I wanted to show for the sake of him being very clear on this. That this is not a subjective issue. That this is objective. By the way, there is an objective standard on Lolicon. Okay, what is it? Boom. Let's go. Come on, objective standard. What is it? I already know, obscenity law, which is subjective. And this is him just flippant, just being flippant with the whole thing, trying to hide behind the law. When it's like, okay, there's states with hate speech laws. There are states with hate speech laws on the books that are unenforceable. You know, these are terrible excuses. So let me, there's one particular tweet that I am looking for. Let me see. Ah, here it is. So this guy, Gab, blocks people on Twitter while having a website that has no block option, and that is constantly encouraging people on Twitter and Twitter itself to mute people instead of blocking them. Hypocrisy from the East Coast version of Twitter's Jack Dorsey. And then this guy, you can obviously tell he's a lolicon. So Andrew blocks him, and this is what I mean. This is someone calling him out for his apparent hypocrisy, and Andrew blocks him because it's criticism. So let's read what he has to say in response. Let's see. That's called freedom of association. We don't want to be associated with people who post and support cartoons depicting children being sexually abused and tortured. So, freedom of association. Now, that begs the question logically. It does. In terms of standards, if we want to be actually principled on something ever, we don't want to constantly compromise. What is this? Can someone explain to me? Can someone explain? What is this then? If not freedom of association, yes, is it collusion? Yes, is a cabal of companies that are working against him? But these are companies in unison disassociating, terminating their accounts and terminating their relationship with Gab. Should they not have the right to do that? Is that the issue? No, it's just, this is not fair. I don't like this. And that's it. And this is the problem. Like, I'm not saying that what they did is right. It is obviously wrong. It's obviously politically motivated. It's obviously cowardice and the rest. And collusion. And it's a cabal of companies. These people are communicating and setting this up. It is a conspiracy. It is, in fact, a conspiracy of companies working together, coordinating to try to take down Gab. That is, in effect, what is going on. But the issue is, they do have the right to do that. People are talking about Gab suing these companies. Again, terms of service leave them absolutely able to just deny you service whenever they feel like it. It is a contractual loophole of liability. They have no liability. If they want to terminate your account, they have every legal right and ability to do it. You can't stop them. If this went to court, Gab would lose. The only way that this is going to be solved is, in effect, the government going after these companies. The government going after PayPal. The government going after Twitter. The government going after Stripe. The government going after a lot of these companies, such as the Google Store or the Apple Store. Those are, in effect, monopolies. It's 50-50 in terms of control over the market. These are monopolies. That is absolutely correct. But the issue is, if government's not going to do it, then Andrew's fucked. Andrew has no means for recourse. He can go to the courts, he's going to lose. To my understanding of what the issue is, and it is of liability in terminating accounts. Guess what? Those terms of service give those companies every which way to terminate those accounts whenever they feel like it, and they can terminate it the same day. That is built into the terms of service. I can guarantee you that. So they have no liability in this regard. They can terminate your accounts whenever they want to. And it is a concept of freedom of association. They don't have to associate with you. They don't have to have you as their customer. They can legally discriminate against you. So that's the issue. And the thing is that how, like, the whole thing is that, like, I can see this as being wrong, but I'm not willing to defend him. This is him being wronged. I'm not willing to defend him, because if I was being wronged, if I was getting sent to prison for possessing what someone has decided is lowly, if I go to jail for that, Andrew's going to be laughing at me because he doesn't care. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really consider this to be a real issue. But it is. We're talking about people going to jail for 15 to 20 years in terms of even the American law that's unenforceable. But that's what the statutes are. 15 to 20 years for images, for fictional drawn images. 20 years in a federal penitentiary for drawings of which they don't even have to be like rape or whatever. It could just be like two underage people having sex, drawn. 20 years in prison. But no, let's just put that issue and just put it way over there in terms of consideration. No, this is an Achilles heel, like I did in that video. It really is. I really think that this is staring us in the face, and we have no idea. We have no idea that this is going to be eventually used against us. It's not just in terms of like the law, but in terms of philosophically, and people arguing principle. This is going to be used against us because this is wholly subjective. This is in no way an objective standard. This is just all over the place, and no one is defining anything. No one is defining one letter, like one word of how they could actually implement any kind of regulation or ban on this. No one is even offering that whatsoever. It is just hiding behind completely subjective standards such as the Miller test or just outright bans. And the whole beauty of that is of the Andrew Ryan quote of what you can't regulate, you just ban. And that is absolutely true about art. There is no regulation of art. It is simply whether it's banned or not. And that's the case with like child pornography. It's just banned. There is no regulation of it. It is just a simple ban. But other such art, it's either legal or it isn't. There's no way to regulate it. And that's what we saw with the issue of what was that law? California versus whatever the fuck it was in the video game case. There is no objective standard. There's no way to defend it. There's no way to regulate it. It's either banned or not. And when it comes to the regulation of video games in many countries, it's just totally just off the cuff, like whatever they feel that day needs to be banned. Like full frontal nudity is banned in Australia and I think the UK. They didn't censor GTA. They just let it in. They just went right under the radar. And that's not the only game that got away with that. It was all the Japanese games that got banned and censored and all the rest and were forced into making these changes. But the big names in the industry, they just slid right on by, and it's because they have all the money in the world. $100 of whatever that is, like North Korean. Make real crime illegal in fiction. Hollywood would be destroyed. Yeah. I didn't know even what Loli was a week ago, but you're absolutely correct here. Good work. Andrew says step down. I have a bunch of extra characters. Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Like, again, I'm going to reiterate. I'm not saying that Andrew should step down because of the Loli matter. Like, because I have a problem with him and I think he's a bad person, whatever, I think he should step down. No, I mean from a detached point of view of how someone should run a company, he should step down because he is alienating too many people for it to be functional. He can get all the investment he wants. If no one wants to use his fucking platform, what's the whole point? It's just gonna be your Twitter with a shorter shelf life. Because you show no actual like limitation of like you don't actually show a standard of fairness. It is just what Andrew thinks today. That's what stays, that's what goes. Andrew today likes hate speech. Andrew today doesn't like Loli. Therefore it's gone. That's it. And I'm sorry, most people can recognize that, even if they want to suck his dick, and then go ahead. He is not the person that should have the power to decide that in the company. He is a self-destructive element within his own company. As I said already, he's the worst person in his fucking company. He's the most impulsive, the least professional. And he is killing his own brand by his own fucking policies that he enacts out of nowhere by his own bias. Fiat. I want this. He's like a fucking Greek tyrant. Just wakes up on a whim, boom, gone. We'll write the policy later, guys. Why should he be in the position in his own company to fucking do that? He shouldn't be. It's not exactly how tyrants worked in Greece, Louis. No, it is. Well, I guess maybe in Rome then. How about in Rome? The dictator status. That very much was what let's see. Anyways, yeah, in Rome it would be true. Tim says Torba's ban whims make Gab no different to Twitter. A proper counter to Twitter would have defined set of rules and transparency ban. Yeah, absolutely, Tim. I mean, this is the whole thing. If you actually take banning seriously, if you actually take censorship seriously, you wouldn't be flippant about it. You wouldn't be. If you actually held this as a principle, you wouldn't just on a whim start blocking people because they're criticizing you, because they have a problem with something. You know, you'd actually be mature about it in terms of addressing them. Even if it's just a nonsense issue, you still are obligated as a professional running a company to at least mitigate your own impulse to just be an asshole to this person. But like Tim said, they would have a set defined rules. If they took this seriously, they would have defined rules and they would be very transparent about what they're banning. This would have been something that was months in the making. Months in the making, if this is what they were going to wind up doing. And the thing is, to the credit of Sargon, he actually laid out how this could have been done better, how this could have been implemented better, how this could have been implemented and would have been a compromise on principles. Absolutely. There's no question in that, in my opinion. But it could have been done with the idea of, we have to do this for X reason because we're trying to succeed as a company. It's not something that we want to do, but that we have to do for pragmatic reasons to exist. Could he have done that? Absolutely. Did he do that? No. That isn't what he did. And that's why I say he needs to go. Put somebody else in there that can just, like I said, hire Sargon. Hire Sargon to be CEO of Gab. That way, if he needs to make a harsh decision or a decision that's going to have some blowback, that people are going to say this is you compromising on your principles, have someone in there that can actually lay out reasoning for doing it and try to implement these rules that it's just going to be you engaging in the Sisyphean task of having to look through every person's account, not for, saying, hey guys, I'm about to go shoot up a fucking synagogue. You don't want to police that speech. What you need to police is the 300-year-old vampire picture, the lewd 300-year-old vampire. Those are the images you need to ban. Don't worry about the lunatic anti-Semites that are about to run off and kill a bunch of people and shoot some cops. Don't worry about that. They're fine. Their speech is protected. But the guy that's posting some loli, that's the guy you need to ban from your platform. It's also not, and it's not just about the rules. I like, thanks for that post, Tim. It's not just about the rules and lack of transparency and lack of coherence. It's what you're taking seriously and what you're not. And the fact that now you're being hounded over something that's very real. Unlike loli, which is not real, your guy on your platform who is a lunatic anti-Semite ran off, likely, in my opinion, told a bunch of people prior to him running off, went off, shot a bunch of Jews, and then shot a couple cops. Like, priorities. Maybe worry about that a little bit more. Worry about the fucking raving anti-Semites on your platform who have actual political speech or political whims that can turn violent because you have a fucking echo chamber effect on your platform. Maybe worry about that. Don't worry about fucking loli, because loli is not resulting in fucking anything. Nobody's doing anything as the direct result of loli. Nothing is going on because of that. Ket says, it's funny. I said that Torba was seceding his company's only defense against those that would see it destroyed, and here we are. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Like, the whole freedom of association angle, let me find that again. What do you think you're doing, dude? What do you think when this is your opinion, what do you think it justifies? Oh, I already know this. Boom, there you go. By your own standard, you idiots. Like, my whole thing is that, do I think that these companies should be obligated necessarily to have Gab as a customer? Not necessarily, but my issue is that these companies effectively have monopolies. PayPal, which I use, is a monopoly. The Apple Store is a monopoly. The Google Store is a monopoly. They have an effective monopoly, 50-50 literally, over the entire mobile sector for apps on your phones. Literally 50-50. And I'm sorry, but that is an effective monopoly. That is a trust. Because you don't think that Apple and fucking Google are coordinating to some extent? You better believe they are. They completely mirror each other's politics. You know they're colluding. So no, they should be busted up. They should have that stranglehold taken away from them because it's too much power. And I don't agree that they should be censoring Gab in this way when they are a direct competitor to Twitter, who they coincidentally share politics with. They, as companies, share politics with Twitter. They don't share politics with Gab. And that, in my opinion, is why they are censoring Gab from their stores, from their platforms. It's why they are not associating. But the issue is, when you're running around screaming about freedom of association and banning people on a whim and blocking them on a whim, you look like the asshole. It doesn't mean that, and the thing is with the issue of, with PayPal and Stripe and the rest, it is a serious question of freedom of association. This is a serious matter. I'm not taking this in a flippant manner. I am taking this seriously. I just wish other people were. I wish fucking Andrew would take this fucking seriously. Now that he's been in fucking damage control mode for 48 hours, I wish it would extend further than those fucking 48 hours. But it's not going to. As soon as this dies down and Gab is back to normal, and it likely will be, then Andrew's going to be back to normal and being a fucking hypocritical asshole. Dale says, thanks for being one of the only principled voices, Louis. Great to see you thrashing these idiots who are just reacting emotionally. I mean, that's the thing, man. I really do think that these people are overreacting, and they are acting based out of emotion. The only person that I will say, and like I did in the original video, is Sargon. Sargon is the only one that's trying to approach this from an actual standard. He's trying to approach this in an honest manner and doing so with an open mind to the issue. It's the other people involved in this that are completely being utterly flippant about it. And it doesn't call my principles into question. It calls their principles into fucking question. And what's amazing is that, let me find the timeline. Actually, I'll get the image up again. It's just you zoom in real quick. Oh, hold on. We zoomed in too much. It's again, you're not taking this seriously. You are not taking this seriously. You are continuing to be flippant about this, whether it's Dank or Andrew. They don't care. They don't care about the actual philosophical question in this that people have. They don't fucking care. And I'm sorry, to me, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. I want to know what you actually believe, because you appear to be completely hypocritical on this. And it's about art. Call it immoral all you fucking want. I find your position to be fucking immoral. Tim says, not Sargon, lol. You need a hardcore free speech advocate or someone with a First Amendment law experience on the freedom side, someone that can shape a policy. Well, my point is, Tim, is not to say that Sargon is going to be the best person in that position for understanding, First Amendment law. He's not even American. I wouldn't really put the onus on him to understand it. But in terms of the actual ability to just be professional, that's my whole point of hiring Sargon. Sargon, in that situation, was the only person that I saw that had a big voice that just came out and said, listen, you need to be open-minded about both sides on this, and here's a position that I'm honestly arguing. And the argument itself, it was actually, like I said, it didn't actually address the principle, but at least address the issue, the alleged issue of Gab not being taken down. That's what he was addressing in that. And at least that was, it wasn't relevant to the point in that way, but it was, in effect, a way to defend Andrew's ridiculous behavior. And it was from a good sense, and it was an honest, it was an honest actor, and that's what I appreciate. Dank and fucking Andrew are the bad eggs in this. That was my point about Sargon. Tim says Howard Stern or 70s Carlin would be ideal, I assume, for... I don't know about Carlin. Carlin was kind of... I mean, 70s Carlin maybe, but Carlin, towards the later stage of his life, went off the fucking rails. It wasn't even about principle at that point. Howard Stern, I mean, maybe once upon a time when he wasn't so cucked and corporate. But Howard Stern would probably be another good one, just because of his... he was very witty. Vodka Hayes says, what if Lolicon does cause more child sex crimes? Okay, fine. Here you go. Ready? If Lolicon does cause more sex crimes, and we don't know what, just hypothetical percentage, 2% more, well, what if video games cause 2% more violence? My position is that censorship of art is immoral. That is my position. And it's not changing. That is my principle. I don't care. I mean, if it's 95% more crime, maybe then we have to actually engage in the censorship question. But being that we're based on completely unprovable hypotheticals, nearly unfalsifiable claims about Lolicon is creating hordes of fucking child molesters, even though by all appearances child sex was something that was fairly common not all that long ago in history, but nowadays is strictly illegal in the Western world. You know, I don't think Lolicon is going to get us to the old times where it was common. But let's pretend as though that even if it is going to get us at some percentage point higher crimes of sexual crime and, you know, involving children, it still doesn't justify it. It's still then the principle of people being influenced by art and then engaging in behavior that they have to know is immoral and that they do know is illegal, and yet making that choice anyways. The art isn't making that choice for them. They are making that choice. They're making a conscious choice to molest or rape a child. It's not the art making that decision for them. So, yes, it is immoral. Tim says, on pay processors, in my opinion, if they want to be able to process U.S. currency, they should have to abide by due process laws. Too much business requires them. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Tim. Do you mean in terms of like the actual contracts should be they have to basically give a reason, or they have to be able to prove something prior to rejecting the contract or terminating a contract? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tim. Willow says, V scared to debate you confirmed. Well, I don't know. I haven't engaged with fucking V, so I wouldn't say V is good to do whatever. I haven't talked to V about this. Somebody on Discord just messaged me and said that I heard Peterson saying alcohol causes something like plus 50% increase in crime rates. I don't know how true that is. All across the board, and yet it's still not banned. And I would never agree with a ban on alcohol. I don't care how much crime it costs, because that's a good point there, Hania. I'm not sure how to say your username, but that was one of the reasons why alcohol was banned in whatever it was, the 30s, maybe the 20s. I forget when the amendment was passed. I forget which amendment it even was in the United States that made it illegal, but it was a constitutional amendment that made alcohol legal, prohibition. And I guess I can be done with my screen. And the reason for that was crime. That was one of the moral costs, the alleged moral costs, and the crime that was perpetuated by alcohol. And I agree. I think alcohol lowers inhibitions for sex, for partying and social engagement, which is one of the reasons why I would always defend alcohol, because even with myself, I'm more willing to engage I'm always willing to engage in a conversation, but I'm a lot more willing to break down even the taboos that I have, the filters that I have while inebriated. When I'm drinking, I don't give a shit what we're talking about. I'll talk about it, even though I'm kind of like that regardless of alcohol. But I think that's good for a lot of people, that alcohol can lower the things that are keeping them from just stating what they believe, because I think that kind of political correctness and filter and that kind of social setting is inappropriate. You should be in a social setting allowed to say whatever the fuck you want to. I don't care if you even have some racist shit to say. Maybe, it's just that change my mind mindset of, I don't like black people, change my mind. It's like, okay, let's change your mind. Let's talk about it. Otherwise, if they weren't drinking and they would never say that, we would never know, and they would just be in the echo chamber of their own mind. No one could ever confront them on that belief if they don't actually state it. And I think that's one of the things that's good about alcohol, is that it facilitates conversation in that way, even if it is like drunken conversation. I think it's still, I defend it for that reason, but also because it's one of those things that people are going to use on a mass level. It's like cigarettes. It's like banning cigarettes. I'll just never agree. I don't even like the cigarette tax. I think it doesn't do anything. People know the consequences of smoking. They do. It's been drilled into their mind since childhood. At this point, what the consequences of smoking are, people still fucking smoke. So what's the point? What's the point in legalize or regulating things and doing all this shit when, regardless of filters, regardless of state-backed propaganda at dinner time, of gross ads and all the rest in taxation, you're never going to effectively stop it. You're only going to use draconian and costly measures to try to mitigate something that you're never going to fucking stop. I mean, the whole thing with cigarettes, like what is your goal? That would be my question for people that want people to smoke less. What is your goal? Like, because the thing is that I don't understand it. There are many things that people choose to do that are unhealthy for them, like getting fat. And the only thing that you can do in effect with people being fat is banning big gulps, which eventually are overturned, or which they buy tube drinks, which is one of the stupid things the UK is trying to do now with pizzas, making smaller pizzas for the sake of people getting fat. They're just going to buy 2 pizzas. The problem isn't the size of the pizza. The problem is the person. They're eating too much. They're consuming too much. How do we make them eat less if we're able to? And taxes aren't going to do it. Smaller pizzas aren't going to fucking do it. Shaming, well, that's the thing. I don't know if shaming does anything or doesn't. There was a time in American history where I know that there was social shaming around people being excessively fat. And I mean, like, after the period in which being fat was basically a sign that you're wealthy. I mean, like, after all of that, which was like, I want to say after the 19th century. So that was up until the 19th century, being overweight was a sign, to some degree, was a sign of health. But at some point in the 20th century, being fat was a surefire sign that you were unhealthy. And even before they understood all the scientific and medicinal issues of being fat, and there are constant issues, chronic issues with being fat. Even before they knew that, they socially shamed people for being fat. And the question is whether that was effective or not. I don't know. But that's one of the areas that's now politically incorrect. You can't socially shame someone anymore for being fat. And that may have been one of the only effective measures against it. Does Nyx from Fire Emblem count as Lolita? Let me look up Nyx. Or that's actually, wow, I can't believe I said that. It's Nox, actually. That's how you actually pronounce that. Wow, that's embarrassing. Coming from someone that knows as much Greek mythology as I do, it's embarrassing I said Nyx instead of Nox. I don't know. I mean, there is no, like, objective standard of what is or what isn't loli, but I don't know if this character from... I mean, she has, like, she definitely has the body of a loli. But I don't know. It's the the issue with Loli it's basically completely around social and physical cues. It's body type, chest size, and demeanor, and other things as well. But there's a number of factors that artists use to depict youth or young age. The same with women wearing suits or wearing more frumpy clothes or mom jeans or other things to imply, older age, but still young. And then there's social and physical cues that they can imply to show old age, wrinkled face, gray hair, etc. It's just social cues and physical cues to give you the perception of age. Although the characters have no discernible age, and there's plenty of characters that are even that are younger than they appear or older than they appear, and that's very true about like action heroes. Action heroes, and this is something I've even heard. What's his name? Diversity in Comics, or Ethan Van Sciver, I think it was described, where action heroes, they don't ever, like, even in their 60s or 70s, they still look like they're 50 years old. Like, you hit a point where they no longer look their age, so to say. They look like a grizzled 50-year-old. They don't look like a 60 or 70-year-old. Why? People don't believe, and people don't want to see a 70-year-old action hero. They want to see a grizzled 50-year-old instead. And that's unfortunately what is happening to Bruce Willis. Is he's too old now. And I love Bruce Willis movies. I love him as an actor. I love his movies. He's too old now. It's like Clint Eastwood, where he has to play the decrepit old man in whatever that movie was with the Hispanics. He has to be the crusty old man. He has to be. And it's because he's too old to be an action star now. Whereas with Keanu Reeves, he's like perpetually 30-something years old. And as time goes on, he looks more and more like he had a very much a baby face in The Matrix. And now he looks, you look at him in John Wick, he absolutely fits the mold of an action hero now. He looks great. And I'd have to let me look up how old Keanu Reeves is. How old is he? He's 54. He's 54 now. He looks like he's in his 30s. He absolutely looks like he's in his 30s. And he's 54 years old. Wow, he has a dead child? I didn't know that. Jesus. Blah, blah, blah. Gave birth 8 months into her pregnancy of Ava Archer Sami Reeves, who was stillborn. Oh, that's terrible. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had a child die in birth. That's unfortunate. I figured by now he'd have at least one more child, but I guess that's dramatic enough that and he didn't get remarried. He's single. He's been wow. He's only been married once, and it's wow. He's definitely different than most actors. He was married for 2 years, and I mean, that's pretty easy to understand why that relationship didn't work after that traumatic event. But yeah, Keanu Reeves. That's the thing. Like, if you want to, like, the whole point of art is perception. It's the entire basis of art is perception. And it's one of the things I can't stand about art as well, is that, like, you have certain paintings, movies, just different depictions of art where they have to be explained to you. And it's like, if you have to explain something to me, and it's not something I didn't see or didn't understand, but it's something like, it's a meaning that I don't derive, that doesn't make any sense. That's when I think that there's an issue with art where it goes too far, where I have to say, well, you're claiming it as some sort of significance that I simply don't see. Beamer says, watch commentary for Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell. I wish you would have given a little bit more detail why. That's kind of vague. But yeah, Keanu is John Wick. Keanu Reeves is a vampire. Yeah, he is. He is a 100-year-old vampire. He had a girlfriend who died in a car crash. Jesus. Yeah, he's 54. People are reacting to him being 54. No, he's 54. I just looked it up. He's not 50. Yep. Yeah, like I said though, he actually fits the grizzled mold of an action hero now. Like he looks very tough now. People die around him so he can live forever. He's a great Happa. Yeah, he is. The John Wick movies are not great in my opinion. I like them. I don't think they're great, but I do think that I think he's a good actor in that mold. I do think of him as an action hero. Like people, I don't know why, like that Bill and Ted Adventures thing. I don't know why people still associate him so much with that. You know, I liked him as an action hero, and I think that with John Wick, he's definitely. I mean, people like it, and I think it's because he's a guy that now fits that mold. You know, I saw people saying, and it's true to some extent, that there's no more action heroes, blah, blah, blah. I think Keanu Reeves is one of them. I think he's an action hero now. The Oddest Whisperer says, so where does Gab go from here then? They went against their core principle and PayPal has cut their ties from them. Also, can I get a wrench, please? As long as you don't abuse it. There you go there, Whisperer. You got it now. The only reason you're going to need it is because every fucking, comment is getting, every comment in this comment section keeps getting freaking censored by fucking YouTube and their bullshit. I swear to God, I keep having to turn off the fucking censorship and they keep turning it back on. It's like, yo, I'm telling you to specifically leave it off. But no, I'm sure that's a feature that's just randomly there. All right. There's 3 streams I want to watch. What are the other ones? I'm not aware of any. You should watch a movie called Freaked, where Keanu Reeves plays a humanoid mutant dog. To be fair, in The Matrix, wasn't really supposed to look like an action hero. He was an office worker who also worked as a hacker in his apartment before shit started. That is true. Watch the video of Keanu Reeves on a firing range. Yeah, well, that's the thing about Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson is getting too old now. He's too old. They had to basically do that bullshit in that what Captain America movie, or not Captain America, Captain Marvel movie, where they digitally de-aged him. It's because he's too old now. You know, Samuel L. Jackson is great, and I like his movies, and I like him as an actor, but he's old. He's an old man. About the commentary, okay, so the point about, hold on, I missed a super chat about the commentary. There's a good part in Big Trouble Little China, the commentary, where Russell talks about the older action star. He agrees with you. Yeah. It's with women too. It's the same thing with women. The older you get, the less of a position you have. The only person, like, once you become old, there are positions that you can take. Like, I don't like the idea, like, people say, like, oh, it gets harder and harder for you to play a certain role once you get old, and that is specifically not true. It requires, if you have talent, then you can play different roles your entire fucking life. The only issue is you get typecast, and if you are limited in terms of your ability to act. If you're limited and if you're typecast, then you're done once you hit a certain age. And that's true about women and about men in different ways. But let me look up the... I think I talked about him in a previous stream recently. Let me find his... I need to find his name. He's the actor that plays Tywin Lannister, Charles Dance. I almost forgot his name. So let me. I'll put this back on screen. Let me get this back over here. I'll put this back on screen. Okay. So Charles Dance is the exception. If you know how to play a good actor, or a good villain, rather, if you know how to play a good actor, if you know how to play a good villain, you will be hired for the rest of your life. Whether it's theater, TV, film, if you know how to portray a very good villain, you will always be in a job. You will always have a gig. You will always be hired. And that is very much true of Charles Dance. He knows how to be a villain. He knows how to be a stately older man. He has that down to an art, to a T. He can do it. And that is very rare. It's not that simple for an actor to be able to convey like that like, even though he's like a skinnier older dude, he can still be an imposing figure. And there's only two ways to be imposing as an actor, and it's to be really big, like the Mountain, like that actor who's really, really big, or other ones that are just really big dudes, like the guy that played the Russian in Rocky. Just you're a big fucking dude, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though he's not limited to that. Ultimately, he's a big, or once was a big dude. That's how you can be imposing, or if you can carry yourself with enough like non-verbal confidence and give off the demeanor of like malice just by standing there and just how you carry yourself and how like what your face you have and how you speak. If you can be menacing just by standing in a room like Charles Dance can, then you will have non-stop gigs for the rest of your fucking life. You might be typecast as a villain, but who cares? Who cares if you are typecast as a villain when you literally can get work forever? And you're also good at what you do. Dolph Lundgren, yeah. Also, a great voice actor, voiced the Emperor in The Witcher 3. Yeah, I heard of that. I don't, Clint Eastwood, even if when he got older was able to carry himself, but if you go watch it was the very last Dirty Harry movie. I forget what it's called. It's like the fifth one where he's older in that one. It's shit. And he just doesn't carry himself anymore that way. So I don't agree. I don't think that Clint Eastwood is the exception. I don't agree. Charles Dance is the new Christopher Lee. Maybe so. I do think that down the line, people are going to look back at him. He's a nutcase, but a good actor. Does he have like shitty politics or something? Is that why you say that? I don't see anything on here about his politics, so that's usually a good sign. He's a theater actor. For someone saying he's crazy, dude. He's from the theater. Everyone from the theater is fucking crazy. Motherfucker is a quotation from Samuel L. Jackson, pretty much. What I like about Samuel L. Jackson as an actor is that he was so great in the Boondocks. I'm trying to remember. Let me look up Samuel Jackson Boondocks. I forget the name of the character. He plays a white guy, Gin Rummy, as the caricature of Donald Rumsfeld. He was so great in that show, man. As Gin Rummy, which is Once-ler Third's, which is a caricature of George W. Bush. In that show, oh God, what's the name of the voice actor that did let me look it up. Once-ler the Third. That was another black actor. Let me find it. I want to find Charlie Murphy. That's right. He was played by Charlie Murphy. Oh man, that was so great. Oh man, if you haven't seen the Boondocks, I would recommend watching it. It was so fucking funny. I remember watching that when I was younger, and that was like the funny. I think it was on Adult Swim, and it was the funniest fucking show. And those are two of the best characters. Was Ed Wuncler III and Gin Rummy as like the dynamic duo of like just constantly getting into all sorts of fucking retarded like Gin Rummy coming up with some kind of like scam or scheme and then them engaging in it. It's just so fucking funny. And they were great actors. Charlie Murphy was a great fucking actor. I liked him so much. And so let me. It's unfortunate that he's now dead. I think he was very underrated, and it's a tragedy that he died so young. But let me look up the guy's name. He did Black Jesus, which I didn't see, and it's actually the Black Jesus is actually by the same guy, Aaron Magruder, who did Boondocks. Let me find the name of Gerald Johnson, Slink Johnson. He was Lamar, and wow, why is this? This is so weirdly set up. But yeah, anyways, he was Lamar Johnson in GTA 5, and I thought he was I think he might have been the funniest character in that entire game. Just based on the like, not just the lines that they fed him, but his delivery, his ability to deliver them. I think that was the best part of his character, was his acting. Yeah, the absence of evidence is not the evidence. Here, let me find that, because that actually is a thing that Donald Rumsfeld did when they were talking about the weapons of mass destruction. That was an actual quote, and I remember that when I was young in like 2004. Let me find that video. That was so great. I'm not going to show it because I don't want to get censored. Oh man, is it like censored everywhere? I'm trying to get it from YouTube. I don't think I can.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
What?
Simply because you don't have evidence that something does exist does not mean that you have evidence that something doesn't exist.
What?
What country you from?
What?
What ain't no country I ever heard of. They speak English in what?
What?
English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
Yeah.
So you understand the words I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are known knowns and that there are known unknowns, but there's also unknown unknowns. Things we don't know that we don't know.
What?
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more time.
What?
They edited it at the end, but yeah, that was Samuel L. Jackson as Gin Rummy, basically screaming at a child while quoting Donald Rumsfeld. The Boondocks was so funny. One of these days, I don't think I've watched every season of it, but one of these days I should sit down and watch every episode of every season, because it was such a fucking awesome show. Jim is apparently streaming as well. Apparently so is Sargon. That's what people are saying. Pimp names like that. Uncle Ruckus was another one. Uncle Ruckus was probably Robin Sachs did great as Zaid Musani in ME2. I agree. I think he might have been one of my, if not my favorite character in Mass Effect 2. He was great. Gran Torino. Well, like I said, with Gran Torino, with like, I don't know what you want me to say about Clint Eastwood. Like, he had to. The only part he could play was a decrepit old man, because he is in effect a decrepit old man. Like, I don't know what you want me to say about him. Uncle Ruckus. Yeah, Uncle Ruckus. I think, unfortunately, they relied on him too much, in my opinion. I think that I like his character a lot, and I thought he was like one of the funniest aspects of the entire show, especially for the outlet for Aaron McGruber to, in effect, like make jokes that only that character could make. Like no other character could have made the jokes that he made. And they were all specifically jokes at the expense of black people. I don't think any other character could have done that. But with Uncle Ruckus, I think they relied on him too much, and I think especially as the show went on, like they just relied on him too much. I think that was one of the downfalls of the show. But you know what was funny? I'm surprised nobody's brought it up. It's I forget the name of the actor. Let me look it up. It's Ed Wuncler the First. The actor is actually like Ed Sheeran. Yeah, he's one of those people that have fairly shitty politics. He's like a stock, very old progressive. Ed Sheeran. Or no, no, it isn't. Hold on. That isn't correct. I'm being misled here. Google is fucking me here. I don't know why. Here we go. Actor Ed Asner. Ed Asner is the guy's name. Ed Asner is like a progressive activist actor. But I thought that was another person in the Boondocks who was great. I thought Ed Asner as Ed Wuncler was great. Because they actually based the appearance of Ed Wuncler off of Ed Asner. And they're very right to do that. That's one of the reasons why I think that many of the games that portray, they basically change the way the character looks to look more like the actor. That way the voice reflects it. I think that that's something more video games should do. Or more television shows or whatever, anime, whatever, is because the voice carries through the character when they reflect the way that person actually looks. The only time where it wouldn't work would be if the person speaking, like their voice doesn't actually match how they look. Then it doesn't work. But in the case that you have like an older, portly dude speaking as a portly over dude, I think that works very much. What about Charles Bronson? He was still good in his 50s to 70s. I've watched some Charles Bronson films, but I haven't watched a decent percentage of them, so I can't really give a position on that. Season 4 was meh. It wasn't the same after McGruder left. I agree. Aaron McGruder left the show, and it kind of fucked it. And that's why it ended, pretty much. It's just the guy that put the flavor into the show. It was like the Chappelle show. Once Steve Chappelle left, boom, the show was fucking over. And it's because you took the guy, and he wasn't like the sole writer of the show. He had a whole team of writers behind him. But once Chappelle left, I mean, boom, the show just evaporated immediately. But anyways, we've gone off course completely, so I guess I'll end this. But I appreciate you guys stopping by and chatting with me about this. What about Unforgiven? Clint Eastwood was imposing. What about Bronson? Thoughts on Sony not just censoring Japanese exports, but for home consumption only? Well, that's up to the Japanese. I mean, I can't do anything about Sony fucking censoring, so it's up to the Japanese to decide what they're going to do about that. Don't worry, Louis. We chose your stream. Well, I appreciate that, Mobile Crusader, and for the support. What about and I already read Charles Bronson, so I'll end it there since we're pretty much out of things to talk about. But I appreciate. What's my opinion on Red Dead 2 so far? Not better than GTA 5. There's definitely some good parts about it. It feels like a very safe game. I don't really see a lot of things about it that are really stepping out of the bounds. It just seems like they made a good game in which they played it very safe, at least so far. I'm only in chapter 2. I can tell you that the most frustrating part of it has been eventually there's a mission you have to go to for the one Spaniard you're with, and it's in this part of this county which I don't even know the name of, but it's where Blackwater is based. Blackwater is the city that you're fleeing from at the beginning of the game. Well, eventually you have to go back there to break out Sean, who's one of your teammates, and you can't enter that county without it being dark. If you enter the county and it's light out, you'll be immediately killed. And it took, like, I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do until I said, you know what, this is probably a stupid gimmick where it has to be dark. And then even though I didn't go anywhere near the main roads, nobody saw me, nobody reported anything to the police. It's just a shitty gimmick, and it's probably going to have to be dark. I forget what I did to wait to make it dark. Oh, I built a camp and I went to sleep, made it dark. Then I went out, and boom, all of a sudden I can get to my mission, and I could walk the streets and there was no issue. Suddenly cops were nowhere. And it's like, wow, this was stupid. Like, maybe I missed where somebody said, like, don't come out until it's dark to specifically tell you that this is a problem in the game where you can't go into this county during the daylight. But as far as I can tell, they never explained it. It's just something through trial and error that you had to learn. And I died like 3 times in a row, and I lost like fucking $200 because of that. And I was like, wow, this is fucking stupid. I was getting close to raging the game because I looked online and I couldn't find it anywhere, like what I had to do. I basically had to, like, I just thought about it and I said, you know what? This is probably you having to go out at nighttime. That's probably what the gimmick is. And it was. But I lost $200 in dying in the process, which I didn't find fun. And I don't know why the game didn't say, like, specifically. I mean, maybe it did and I missed it, but I didn't see it where they should tell you, don't go out during the daytime. Go out only during the nighttime. But outside of that, the shooting gameplay, I don't know whether it's too wonky or I'm just not used to it on PlayStation, but I'm not that into it. There's a lot of tedium in the game. They don't explain a lot of things that are necessarily you have to explain, like, how to. I had to look up on how to rob a train and it still doesn't work properly. Like, even if you stop it in the middle of nowhere, you still get a bounty. If you keep it moving, you get a bounty. If you get anywhere near your base camp, it shuts down the game. Literally, the game shuts down, and like you get a $300 bounty, which is the max, and you don't get any of the money from the bounty or from the train robbery. Like, it kicks you off the train, and then you go to like a fail state. It's just kind of ridiculous. It's like the game is very harsh in terms of robbing. Like, if you basically have to effectively hog tie somebody in the middle of nowhere to rob them, because if anyone sees you, you're immediately going to get a bounty. Like, robbing people in the game is hard, and it's overly fucking punishing for that. And I think the train robbery system is bugged because I've robbed carriages where I haven't been caught. But with trains, I have not been able, and I've tried like 5 times straight of following strategies, like jump on the train this way, don't kill everyone, don't do this, don't do that, go for the conductor first, don't do this, don't do that. Every single time, I have a million lawmen like coming after me, and I basically get in the conductor's seat, move the train into the next county, and then rob it. But it doesn't matter, I have a $300 bounty at that point. So it's like you might get like $100-something worth of shit off the train. There's apparently a feature in which you can there's supposedly a way for you to rob the safes on the train, but I haven't seen it explained. I don't know how you do it. Like, it said online, you just blow it open with dynamite. I blew it open with dynamite, got a $300 bounty. So, and it didn't open. So I got no money in a $300 bounty, which is not easy to pay off. So the game has some serious problems. And here's another issue. I went into Valentine, where it has very tight streets. Some guy literally ran in front of me and got knocked over by my horse. Boom, $15 fine. Every cop is after me. It's like, yo, he ran into me. He ran into me and got knocked over. It was his fault. And yet I now have a $15 bounty and now have to flee the entire city when it goes on lockdown. And in the process, I killed 2 people running away. So the fine thing in the game is fucked up. The police system's fucked up in the game. So yeah, I don't really like the policing system in the game. And that's I think I retweeted it yesterday from Bunty. Bunty was complaining about this because it is true. People pick fights with you. People pick fights with you, and you will get like if you're. It happened to me twice where I fist fought a guy, didn't get a fine. Like I figured out you can't loot him, you can't pick him up, don't touch him after you get into a fight. Just got to walk away. I walked away, walked out. Then immediately someone said, "Oh my God, you just beat somebody up." Ran to the police. I got a $30 fine and chased out of the city. He picked the fight with me. I didn't do anything. He literally ran up to me, started hitting me. So I kicked his ass. And it's like, like what the fuck? So yeah, the police system in the game isn't working correctly. I've seen several other people also complain about it. Now you know what Black Lives Matter feels. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Duels are supposed to be legal. Duels are actually supposed to be legal in this time setting, as far as I'm aware as well. Like, there was state law that you could duel somebody. And that's the thing, too. He said that was the thing that Bunty talked about. Some guy pulled a gun out and started shooting him. He shot him. Like Bunty shot the guy in response, in defense. And he got fined. He got chased. And they put the city on lockdown. And it's like, I've had similar circumstances. Yeah, they fucked up the policing system in the game. And they fucked up the robbery system. There's missions where you can run in and literally kill like 1 million dudes and no cop will show up. But if you rob a fucking like a what would it be? Stagecoach? Dude, the cops will be on you so fucking quick that it's ridiculous. Even if you kill everyone. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've had at times where it bugged out, where no one saw me, no one reported it, and the cops just rolled in. I'm like, yo, like, this is ridiculous. So, yeah, they need to patch it. They seriously need to patch the game. There's something wrong with the policing system. I saw a duel and participated in one, so it makes doubly no sense. Yeah, and I've also been in duels. I got into a duel with, it's like, if it's in a mission, then the policing system is 100% off. If you're in a mission, the police are gone. It's like certain missions in GTA where if you do the mission, you can blow people up, do into all sorts of shit, and the cops will never show up. It's all scripted. But if you're outside of the missions, you can't rob anything. You can rob a random person you find in the middle of nowhere and hogtie them and take their shit, sure. But outside of that, dude, you're gonna get chased. Police response times are apparently amazing in the 19th century. Yeah, they are. It's ridiculous in the game. I got into a fight. There's a mission where you rescue Sean. Dude, you literally mow down like 50 fucking private detectives. 50 fucking dudes right out from the outskirts of a town. No cops show up. No police show up as you're mowing down 50 dudes. But all of a sudden, it's like if you literally jump on the back of a moving stagecoach, knock the driver off and start moving, boom, cops are on you. It's like no one even reported the fucking crime, and I'm already like being chased. Better than the UK's response, lol, you have to bribe them with food. The police are effective and unforgiving and all-seeing, just like it should be. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. Can you make your character brown-skinned? I heard UK police ignores those people. No, but I like the hair mechanics. They basically were like looking at The Witcher and we're like, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do what The Witcher did, but better. I actually like the hair system in it. And there's hair tonic that you can drink to make your hair grow faster. I have right now my version of Arthur has like slicked back. It's a little bit too short currently, but I'm trying to grow out his hair. But it's slick back hair and not a pencil mustache. I forget what it's called in the game, but it's not the handlebar. It's the other version, and it's currently like stage 5 or stage 6 growth. So it's starting to get kind of long, and it fits him pretty well. So it looks good. Like they allow you to customize your cowboy fairly well and your outfit completely. I also have dual pistols. Finally, you have to do that specific mission. Or no, you have to break out the one guy from prison from Strawberry. You break out that one teammate of yours who gets caught. Once you break him out, you get dual pistols after that. Oh my God, is that better than having just one? I've gotten into so many firefights where I've done the whatever it is, the Eagle Eye, whatever, Hawkeye, or Deadeye actually. And dude, it's just like I can't imagine how insane it's going to be on PC, where you're going to have 10 dudes charge you because you have a $300 bounty. So like 12 guys are going to come at you at once. But bro, just pull out those pistols or a shotgun. I'm doing double barrel shotgun as my you can have two. You can actually carry 2 rifles, but it's my main rifle that I carry. And dude, the double barrel is the most effective gun in the fucking game. It's a room clearer. Any dude that comes out, like, if you have pistols, it's very hard to fight guys on horseback. Just pull out that shotgun, dude. You'll fucking massacre them. So the shotguns in this game are very effective. What do I think of Arthur Morgan better than John Marston? See, I didn't play Red Dead Redemption 1. I just know about it. I didn't play it, though. But I like Arthur. I do like him. I can't really speak to John. Everyone in this game shits on John constantly. So if you play the game, get ready for that. Everyone shits on John constantly, including Arthur. But Arthur is pretty much your stock cowboy. Like, he just appears to be someone who, like, doesn't know where he fits in the world. Like, doesn't know whether he's a good guy or bad guy. Red Dead Redemption never got PC. I don't think Red Dead Redemption will... No, I guarantee you Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming to PC. I guarantee you it's coming to PC. There's no way. Especially with the online mode, no way. Yeah, so I guarantee you it's coming to PC. I just hope the online mode isn't like... I'm afraid the online mode is going to be like Max Payne 3's online mode, where it's very limited. If you play this game, by the way, it feels like the exact same team that did Max Payne 3. It has a very, very strong Max Payne vibe to it in terms of the gameplay. 10 guys charging at someone on horses. Ever played Hold Fast Nations at War? No. But that once you get a bounty, dude, get ready to get chased down, like, at the worst possible moment. I swear to God, it gets so ridiculous. Like, I was trying to do a mission with like, where you basically go and you try to get photos of these old gunslingers, and it's like, yeah, go pitchfork shit into a wheelbarrow. So I'm like, all right. So I take the pitchfork and I'm like picking up pig shit. And all of a sudden, fucking 10 dudes come rolling down the fucking hill. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was too busy messing around in the game and they just came up on me. And I've died multiple times because of that. But thank God this time I had my shotgun on me. And I just ran behind the cabin. And they were trying to circle me, which they do, by the way. The AI is fucking crazy. They were trying to circle around me on horseback. I just started shooting them from around corners and, shotgunning them in the head. And I was fucking taking them out. So thankfully I didn't die there. It fucking ended the mission, by the way, because the guy got shot. The mission giver got shot and died. And I was like, all right, well, there goes that mission. So I had to come back and he respawned and I had to do it again. But that was funny. I have mixed feelings about it in terms of endorsement. It feels very safe as a game. It feels safe. So that's kind of a downside. When I played Grand Theft Auto 5, I didn't get the feeling that they were playing it safe with the game. It felt like, to me, that they were like, fuck it, let's just do it. Like, this is going to be great. But with this game, it feels like it's very cosmetically safe. Put it like that. It's very safe. even in a time period which was the Wild West, in effect, like how many years? 40 years after the 30 years after the Civil War. And yet it's like very, very safe. Especially what's it, New Divine, however you say, like it's one of the things I can't stand about their New Orleans part of the game, like, or that county. It has a bad name. I don't like the name, and it's not memorable. It's not even like New Bordeaux in Mafia 3, which I thought that game was shit. At least it had a memorable name, New Bordeaux. I like the name. And it sounds like something you would find in Louisiana, New Bordeaux. They say it like that. It sounds right. But the name that they have for their own version of New Orleans is shit. They won't let you name your horse Nibba because they have a profanity filter. Is that a question or a statement? Let's see. Can you get a pump action? Yes, you can. You can get a pump action shotgun, and it's free too if you have the pre-order or whatever. That's one of the unfortunate parts of this game is there are a lot of guns locked behind a fucking virtual bullshit that I find anyways. Maybe eventually they unlock them, but there's a bunch of things in the game that are locked because I didn't buy the gold edition or whatever. So yee with the microtransactions, not the microtransactions, but the digital restrictions that are in the game. It's not good. Can't name it Slave. Oh, so they are censoring in the game? Yeah, it just... There's a lot about the game that just feels like, because you're... There, like, basically, there's a couple people that engage in basically, not even, like, overt racism, but just, like, what would be taboo remarks now? Like, they, the one guy that you break out of prison who everyone regards as a bad person, he says, somebody, like, it's actually a fair criticism. Like, Arthur gets his own room for no reason because he's, like, daddy's favorite. And this guy goes, well, that means what? I have to go to the barracks with the darkies? And it's obviously like a racial statement, but it is an actual argument of like, why does Arthur get special treatment? And the answer, in my opinion, is because, man, I'm doing all the fucking work. You know how much money I'm bringing into our shitty little fucking community, our commune, our freaking robber commune? I'm bringing in like hundreds of dollars. Nobody else is bringing in shit. Fucking, if you look at the ledger, motherfucking, like, John brought in like a 60-cent like tiger skin that I think he stole off of my horse. Because I killed a cougar or whatever. I put the pelt on my horse. It disappeared at one point. I think fucking John stole it off my horse and turned it in as a donation for me. I legit think that happened in the game. Because all of a sudden it was missing. I didn't sell it. And that was the exact thing that I took off the dead animal. He contributed that. That's what he donated. It's the exact same thing. It's very suspicious. I think fucking John stole it. He didn't steal my horse. He stole my pelt. That was my pelt. I'm the one that killed it. And by the way, no one else is contributing anything. I haven't seen one other fucking person contribute shit to our stupid commune. I'm the only one doing it. I've brought in hundreds of dollars. And holy shit, does it cost that much to upgrade your fucking commune? You need so much shit. But yeah, but anyways, if you go down to GTA's New Bordeaux, whatever their stupid name is for, it's like New David or something like that. It is ridiculously PC. It's like San Francisco. Chinese, Japanese, black people, white people, all together in one city, speaking different languages, and Mexicans speaking different languages. And it's everything is totally placid. Everything is totally fine. Like, you have black people and white people coexisting in, like, upper class establishments. When it's like, I look at that and I go, you're telling me in the South, in the 1880s, 1890s, white people were just like, no, come on in, blacks, come on in. Come on into our upper crust establishments. I don't think that was fucking happening, guys. All right, Tim is bouncing. All right, thanks, Tim. I already said we were going to end this. You can name your horse Blackie. I need to get a new horse in the game. The one I got is not very good. I need to get a new one. Dank is on vacation. I can't stream with him. I'm telling you, people are laughing about John taking the pelt. I don't know. It might be just a glitch or something in the game, but I swear to God, what happened was I was coming into the area or into our hideout. I ran into a tree and got knocked off by a horse, which you keep fucking doing in the game. I get back off and I knocked off because what's it called where you take skin the pelts off of the cougar. So I took the cougar and I dropped off the meat to the butcher, but I forgot that I left the pelt on the back of the horse. I went to sleep, woke up, the pelt was gone, and I was like, oh man, the pelt's gone. I don't know what happened. I got back on my horse and went and did a mission, came back, and they finally introduced the ledger where you can see exactly what you can buy and all that. And I looked and it said 60 cents, John Marston pelt, poor cougar pelt or whatever. And I'm like, yo, that was my pelt that was missing. John stole it. And he turned it in and claimed it for himself as a contribution. It was me. I'm the one that found and killed the animal. So yeah, what I want to do is figure out how to rob safes on the trains. That's all I want. Tell me what the rules are, game. I just want to rob safes off of trains and shit. But the fucking game is so wonky. I do think it needs to be patched. But anyways, I'll end it there because we've been going on long enough. All right? Thanks for listening, everybody, and enjoy your other streams that are happening today. Let me check Super Chats before I go. Follow me everywhere, including on Gab before I get banned for disagreeing with Andrew. So I'll leave it there, everybody. All right, thanks for listening.